founded by Sumter and Appomattox. As one author described it, 19th century America was a youngster among nations, a brash adolescent emerging from the long shadow of European tradition and culture, the smoke from its newly sprung factories fashioning a soot-grimed image against the stars, the burgeoning music of steam whistles and pounding engines, and slave cries giving birth to melodies and tunes and manners of speech, which the world would soon call American. American music was a zestful, lively, tuneful, and rhythmic, a mixture of plaintive plantation chants, minstrel shows, energetic pioneer shouts, Irish and Scottish melodies, and the occasional French and German song idiom. Music during this time, in roughly about 1835 to after the war, are generally broken down into genres: military fife and drum, and Barb's going to talk a little bit about that, brass band, and folk and minstrel. Robert E. Lee once remarked that without music there would have been no army. Certainly music was a large part of life during the war, both in the camps and at home. Not only was it a major source of entertainment, but it was a way to give voice to feelings that often words alone could not express. The brass band era evolves in the 1840s with a keyed bugle and experimental valves placed on conical board brass horns of various sizes. By the 1850s, the instrument makers have developed an incredible assortment of precision instruments. Woodwind sections also found their way into bands. The piccolo and clarinets were typically favored because their ranges could compete with the horns. These instruments were in addition to the various percussions. Town and city band organizations flourished throughout the nation. Folk musicians included any soldier who carried an instrument of his choice in his gear. Many of the soldiers would form informal ensembles that played and sang favorite tunes around campfires. Others were civilians who sang or played instruments, especially pianos, in parlors, churches, and of course the minstrel stage shows. Some of the instruments played might be the violin, guitars, banjos and bass, flutes, pipes, penny whistles. Percussion instruments would be drums, bones, spoons, tambourines, and jaw harps. Finally, there were harmonicas, concertinas, and accordions. And Barb, you're on.
Well, I'm going to talk about the sheet music industry. The Civil War was the great musical war, and there were approximately 10,000 popular songs written about this conflict. So that's a lot of songs. I'm going to back up to about 1825. The sheet music industry had already been established on the East Coast, New York, Boston, Philly, Baltimore. The typical sheet music would be 2 pages, which you put on your piano, and they were black and white, very plain. And they were originally made with copper plates and pewter plates, and the process was very slow. So when lithography came in, the images were transferred much cheaper, and they were made from stone paper, and that speeded up the process, and it was cheaper. So all of a sudden, the illustrated covers started to appear, and I've lined up a whole bunch of them over there. You can see them later. And they became very pretty, so people liked to show them on their pianos. They're pretty pictures. And the piano makers, they were making 20,000 pianos a year by the Civil War. So a piano was in a lot of the houses, and you could buy a piano on the installment plan. And I have original ads for pianos, Chickering Company. They sold the pianos, and they also rented them out. And some of them sold for as cheaply as $300 each.
Wow.
A lot of money.
At the time, it was probably a lot.
Yeah.
And of course, it's probably cheaper now to buy a piano, you know?
They give them away now.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there was the railroad and the canal, and this expanded the industry out to the Midwest, to Cleveland, to Detroit, Chicago, and New Orleans, and so on, because the South already had established an industry just as the North had. So when the Civil War did break out, the sheet music industry was really ready to capitalize on it, and capitalize it. George Root was one very prolific composer, and to give you an example of some of his songs, just before the battle, just after the battle, and so on. He really cranked them out. So when Fort Sumter was fired upon, he wrote a song immediately called "The First Gun is Fired," and he had that song composed, published, and distributed within 3 days of the war.
Huh.
And it was amazing. And he evidently made $10,000 just right away on that. Now, speaking of
a lot of money. A lot of pianos.
a lot of pianos, right? But speaking of Fort Sumter, you know Shelby Foote's trilogy on the Civil War, famous trilogy. I found this really interesting. Beauregard's 47 howitzers and mortars began a bombardment which the citizens of Charleston, together with people who had come from miles around by train and buggy, on horseback and afoot to see the show, watched from rooftops and from grandstand seats at a fireworks display, cheering as the gunnery grew less ragged and more accurate until at last almost every shot was drawing the fort itself. So they came, just like entertainment, to watch the war. Amazing. I think. Okay. Now, when they really got into the war, the South really suffered quite a bit, and they were having trouble getting paper. So one publisher bought Tyson's cotton press, which was burned, and it took all the damaged cotton and made 2 years' worth of music paper from putting it into a paper mill.
Wow.
So as I said, the Civil War was a time of excitement, something to look at, but very definitely a profit. And before the Civil War, the people would gather around the piano at night and sing songs, the usual songs. But now they had a whole bunch of different kinds of songs. There were the patriotism songs, and Dixie, which is a Southern song, and Battle Hymn of Republican, which is a Northern. And then they had a lot of songs about the soldier's life, where he would sit around in battle or after battle and talk about what was going on. We Are Coming, Father Abraham is one from that category. And there were a lot of battlefield deaths, and there were a lot of songs about that. For instance, The Drummer Boy of Shiloh was one of them. And there were a lot of domestic scenes where the mothers wrote to the kids and so on. And Johnny Comes Marching Home was one of those. And there were a lot of emancipation songs where all the slaves were being freed. We Are Coming from the Cotton Fields. So I wondered where Stephen Foster fit into this. At first he wanted no part of the war, but after he saw how a lot of these songs were really big sellers, he decided to jump in and get into the act. And at the time, a man by the name of James Sloan Gibbons wrote a poem. Abraham Lincoln asked for 300,000 troops. And he wrote a poem about this, and it was published in an Eastern newspaper. And within days, a number of composers wrote music for this poem. And Stephen Foster was one of them, but one that became a little more popular was I believe the Emerson one. We're going to play We Are Coming, Father Abraham, because this was a big deal, 300,000 new troops.
And there were lots of versions of this.
Lots of versions.
Lots of versions of it, too.
We are coming, Father Abram, 300,000 more, from Mississippi's winding stream and from New England's shore. We'll leave our plows and workshops, our wives and children dear, with hearts too full for utterance and but a silent fear. We are coming, our union to restore. We are coming. coming, we are coming.